Hello everybody, Strangers103 here today with another replay analysis. We're looking at a Hiryuu replay today, and I'm just going to, before I start the replay, I'm going to read out the message. Hello, if you please tell me anything I should have done and what I should not have done. If you could also just tell me if my CV tactics are good or not, that would be helpful. Thanks for watching this and helping me become a better player. Now, I'm basically 13 days late with... 13 days late-ish with this. So, anyways, let's get this replay started. We are Hiryuu versus Ranger, top tier on the Trident map. I've played this map a lot enough in freaking Clan Wars that I should know this map's name off the top of my head. Anyways, well, we're starting the game. We're launching our torpedo bombers first, although we're a little bit late with it. Moving the ship forward now. I'm not exactly able to tell the orders for it, but well, our torpedo bombers are currently ordered to cycle around. Launching. Here's one thing. With a Hiryuu, or at least with the Japanese carriers, if you're against a US carrier, you don't actually need to stack your bombers up, because you're typically able to fly them into the middle of the map, and also get them maybe into a position to spot the destroyer, or if you're really, really lucky, into a position to actually attack one. And, well, the probability of you needing a double stack of torpedo bombers to actually attack a destroyer is pretty low. Anyways, our fighters are ordered to fly off, and it seems our ship is ordered to do a full turn. With this spawn over here, just going to take control of the camera. Personally, I probably would have... Oops. I would have gone up here, like this, down around, and then heading somewhere along this direction at half speed. Anyways, our torpedo bombers come, and our fighters come into the middle and spot an enemy Molotov. Our fighters are currently sitting there getting AA'd by it. Personally, I would try to pull them back. The Molotov takes, it appears to be a Citadel from a Fuso, judging by the damage, which is kind of helpful for us. Anyways, we're going in with a torpedo bomber drop. The fighters have showed up. Sorry for not having it in player mode. Anyways, one fighter squadron shows up. We do get the drop off, but the fighters might deal some damage to us right now. Currently, our fighters aren't ordered to attack it, and I honestly wouldn't order an attack on it either. He sees both of our fighters coming in. We try to get a strafe off it. Would have been completely unnecessary. Fuso finishes off the Molotov anyways. Our dive bomber is currently going in kind of unnecessarily. No real need to them for them to get damage, and we haven't seen the enemy Rangers strike planes right now, so attacking this fighter, in my opinion, is a mistake. Because we haven't seen the enemy strike planes, we don't know if he's trying to snipe us. Also, what I would have done is send both of these dive bombers to the edges of the map. Don't tell me you strafe your own squadron. If you're gonna strafe your own squadron, make sure you do it from far enough range that, for example, if I take manual control of camera again, if two fighters are there, you want to be strafing from like this distance. Well, let's see if I from like here, so that you have a long enough run up to be able to kill it. But yes, right now, at least we have one fighter squadron coming up in 18 seconds due to the fact that the strafe basically wiped our own. And the Ranger never really paid attention, so we've got a panic kill on the enemy fighter. However, this came basically at the cost of 4 planes. And an increased risk of being sniped, because we still haven't seen the strike planes. Anyways, with our carrier currently, we're making a northwards turn. If the enemy's carrier spots us now, reporting a bad turn, we could get taken down by the enemy battleships. While this is being really, really picky here, and there's no real need to be too normally worried about it, but for my preference at least, I'd rather be trying to stay, you know, ensure my own safety like this. Anyways, the Fuso's got the fires put out now, so, and there we go, we're spotted by the aircraft. The Rangers finally decided to show up. And this problem would basically have been solved, if you want, if we had simply sent our dive bombers to look for the enemy planes. Anyways, they're on the map now, and you can see on the spotted indicator that, you know, we need to do something about this. Since he's spotting us, at least the enemy battleships are far enough away, and our anti-aircraft has now started working, and yeah, our fighter squadron's nowhere near. We're still looking to attack. I'm guessing we've ordered the ship to make a starboard turn to turn away from the torpedo bombers, which is normally the worst thing you can possibly do, especially in an aircraft carrier. However, the enemy Ranger has clue 0 how to drop, so we very luckily get away from it. Anyways, he dumps everything on us at the same time, so we pretty much can safely damage control part of this, but this was a very poor, very big mistake to make in the beginning of the game. Anyway, strafing away this torpedo bomber, managing to equip them all, which is very useful for us, and that's basically one less plane to spot us for the moment. However, this snipe was very obvious. We knew it was coming, actually 3.5 minutes ago we already knew it was coming. So it's taken off a decent chunk of our health, and a single torpedo bomber alpha at this point from the USN carrier is enough to kill us down. So we need to be exceptionally careful about what we do with our aircraft now. Not taking any unnecessary fighter engagements. And also, we're heading in a direction where we don't exactly know what's up. We only just finally spotted one of their destroyers. But if an enemy destroyer decides to come YOLO us right now, we could be in trouble. Anyways, while the battle is going on, we do know for the moment that the entire enemy team is blobbing up in the top right corner of the map. That's beneficial for us. We also know that the Rangers, torpedo bombers, and dive bombers would only be able to take off about, well, the torpedo bombers we've wiped would be getting ready to get into the sky about now, and the dive bombers are probably landing. Our fighters, we have one squadron on lower ammunition, the other fighters full ammo, and our torpedo bombers are now getting into the air, and the enemy fighters show up in the middle. Now, it is possible to take a fighter engagement now and still be able to get the planes back on time to defend against the strike. However, is there really a necessity to do this? US fighters have a lot of ammunition. Anyways, let's just see what our orders are. We currently have 2 fighters circling around, and our torpedo bombers seem very interested in maybe going for a snipe on the enemy carrier, although our dive bombers are interested in the Scharnhorst. Our number 3 fighter squadron, I'd be trying to be careful with it so that it doesn't get whittled by anti-aircraft, and I would honestly be using something to go clean the map, to find out where the enemy's last remaining destroyer is. Anyways, our Knights now in combat with the Scharnhorst, and our fighters here are pretty much just on standby, seeing what's up. Placing a strafing like this is perfectly fine, however, it's being placed way too close. Anyways, we get a very beneficial strafe off for us, and we now spotted his torpedo bomber as well. Dropping 5 bombs on the Scharnhorst, unfortunately only 1 fire, but it sets up for the Kneisenau secondaries to do some work, and we still have a fighter here to potentially defend against the enemy's torpedo bombers. And, well, at this point, flying into this AA suit really is kind of pointless, and ordering the floatplane fighter to attack the ordering the attack on the floatplane fighter, in my opinion, is pretty poor play. Now, there is absolutely, let's make this clear first, there is absolutely no way we could have saved the Gneisenau. However, we could have strafed away some of the torpedo bombers. And now we're basically flying into a major AA suit with our fighters. Well, we do know that his strike planes are empty, and he only has the last 6 torpedo bombers left. However, we actually, hold on. No, he doesn't have many planes left anyways, because we've wiped 2 of his squadrons. However, it did come at the cost of one of our own fighter squadrons, and that's not really a fair trade. Anyways, we still have our other fighter squadron currently circling around. We do still have 2 enemy destroyers, one of which we knew was on the bottom right corner of the map, flying in to potentially find an attack on this Alba. Okay, manual drop. We're not really going to be able to kill him like this, so okay, trying to make a YOLO long drop against the Scharnhorst like this. Personally, I probably would have tried to drop it on the Alba from a really awkward angle, just to maybe get another torpedo hit, but this Alba has 0 how to dodge, so he eats it anyways. Now, we're launching our dive bombers before anything else, and, well, both of our torpedo bombers got wiped, so we basically need to sit and wait for them. Our carrier movement now is perfectly fine. We've moved up. We still have no clue where the last remaining destroyer is. And honestly, I would not be moving up until I know, not this close until I know, even though the enemy entire fleet is up there. And I would also be trying to put myself, you know, in a position where I can constantly be moving. Having a look at our dive bombers, it seems we're finally going to go deal with the destroyer, and personally, I would be dealing with destroyers much earlier if possible. And getting our fighters up. It's currently uncertain where the enemy carrier is going to strike, however, it's likely he's going to have another strike coming up very soon. Launching our torpedo bombers now as well, and we find the Minikaze down there, Belfast currently engaging him. Hopefully the Belfast will have a Hydro, and Belfast being Belfast, he will have a radar as well if needed. Enemy fighters and dive bombers spotted. Currently our stuff down here, it's pointless. This Belfast is likely to kill this Minikaze. Even if he doesn't, we can kill him later. What we do need to do is to try to pick up as many of the enemy strike planes as possible. Make a strafe, it killed one before it managed to drop, but it was pretty ineffective. Although it is a stock Colorado, so he won't have any anti-aircraft, so hey, what can we do? Unfortunately, the Minikaze did manage to pick up a fire damage over time on the Belfast, killing him off. And now we have an enemy torpedo bomber coming in, which is loaded. We need to deal with this. Looking mostly at our own torpedo bombers, just selecting the fighter to see what's up. It doesn't seem... Oh, we managed to react, unfortunately not on time, so that's not going to panic it. And now what we can do is just unlatch the enemy torpedo bomber and then strafe it off the face of the earth on the way out. Although it looks like we're much more interested on doing a drop on the Fuso. Looks like a good damage over time drop with dive bomber, damage on dive bomber. Our fighters now currently basically out of ammo. They would have been out of ammo if they strafed, but they've locked onto the enemy's fighters, and I'm going to guess we're going to use our number 2 fighter squadron to make a strafe. Fuso's damage control partied, so let's see. It seems that we're not going to strafe it yet. However, our number 3 fighter squadron is still holding on decently. And, well, here goes the dive bombers. The commit's been made. Our torpedo bombers, ordering them to chase the carrier, and that strafing is still too close, and the enemy fighter has decided he doesn't want this. He maybe realized that our fighter was out of ammo. So, we pull back our torpedo bombers towards friendly anti-aircraft just to be sure, but it seems like the enemy fighters either don't want to make an engagement or are out of ammo. And, well, it looks like we're interested on trying to pick up a snipe on, well, a counter-strike on the enemy carrier. We notice the enemy fighters coming in, so we're running them. I would be running them. Okay, we take the engagement occurs. I don't think we wanted to take it, but that's because we clicked too many times on the... Well, clicked too many orders, and it just took it anyways. And US squadrons being US squadrons, they have a lot of fighter ammo. So, we lost that fighter squadron. It seemed to be a panic squad. However, it does give us a quick chance to make a somewhat okay-ish drop on the Nagato. We're probably not going to pick up too much damage on this. And to be completely honest, I really wouldn't be throwing my planes like this against enemy anti-aircraft. To be completely honest, I would have just finished off him. He was a little bit low. Well, he had more health than after getting shot there. And now if we look at the situation, our carrier's on the north, the enemy team is winning, and we have a destroyer in the bottom left corner of the map. And we don't have many torpedo bombers left. Actually, correction, we're out of torpedo bombers. We have no more replacements. So, what about this? Well, while we wait for stuff to occur, we need to look and see what's up. This guy ain't gonna last. He's a tier 5 cruiser against everything. The enemy carrier has aircraft available, and we don't have much left on our own. This guy is probably chasing this stuff down here, which is still decent health. These guys still have an enemy Nicholas somewhere around the smoke screen, and we need to tail it. So, the correct order is to try to kill the Fuso using damage over time stacks, and that's exactly what we're doing here. We managed to pick up our high caliber 4 bomb hits all in the same area of the ship, only 1 fire, but that's all we need because he's solo HP. He triggers his damage control party. Literally all we need to do is this little plane here, plonk him again, get the fires. Now, our number 3 fighter squadron has been ordered to fly down to our ships. Well, that's not exactly necessary. While the Nicholas doesn't have the world's longest torpedo range, in this situation, we're not doing anything. So, having a, like I said with the earlier Tahoe replay analysis as well, the more you play on the map, the better it is. Anyways, let's just select all of our aircraft and see their current orders. The Emerald actually manages to flood down the enemy Nagato, which is a very useful kill for us, and this so is probably going down. Anyways, our strike planes are heading for the enemy's destroyer, and we have a fighter that's in the back that should really seriously be prioritizing on the defense of the friendly fleet, rather than trying to get a plop on this Nicholas. The Nicholas isn't going anywhere. We do get a drop-off. We do pick up the Fuso, so maybe there is a double strike potential here if this Nicholas doesn't make a good dodge, and actually we do manage to pick up the double strike, so from an awards point of view, yeah, that was great. From a gameplay point of view, that was kind of mediocre. Yeah. Anyways, that torpedo bomber is heading away, so we don't really need to chase it right now, and we know that, we know that he knows where the two remaining ships of our fleet is, and we've killed off the enemy destroyer. So all of a sudden, our current situation doesn't look too bad. And also, we're finally getting into a position where we can regroup with our fleet. Now, we have 11 dive bomber replacements. That is a lot of replacements on dive bombers that you certainly wish you had on your torpedo bombers. So the way you do this from now is you use those dive bombers and plop them on the Scharnhorst. Wait for the damage control party, and then go plop the Scharnhorst with your torpedo bombers. That's what you do. Anyways, our number 3 fighter squadron finds the enemy fighters, commits a strafe on them. Not so sure it's a good strafe. Yep, as you see on the map, he's realized what was up and counter-locked it. And, well, we've seen the enemy fighters coming in, and this is what I mean by ship movement. While certainly it is nice to be on the enemy side of the map, we put a strafe on him. This is probably going to do it, with that, it's going to do a fuckload of damage to it. Unfortunately, not able to pick up the kill on the last one, but, well, we've got everything on our asses, and we're going to be getting shot at now as well. Anyways, double dive bomber. They're not going to do too much damage to a Belfast, although any damage you deal to a Belfast is going to stick. So, what would the best possible move, in my opinion, right now be? Well, dive bombing the Belfast doesn't give us anything. We have a lot of replacements, but it doesn't give us anything. And that's a pointless strafe, in my opinion. Better just to auto-attack it. And now we're out of fighters as well. Going with the torpedo bombers, the Belfast is turning into our sub. That's not going to do anything. I would have just simply been patient. The reason for this is pretty simple. Panicking is just going to get us screwed. It's just going to get our plane screwed. That's not going to do fuck all either. That's probably not even going to arm, even the one that does hit, even if it does hit them, unless we don't have torpedo acceleration. But I don't think it's going to hit them. What should we have done? Honestly, dropped on this guy. The Belfast isn't really in the world's best position to do anything. Hit a Belfast against stuff that can lolpen him wherever the fuck they hit it, almost. Look, the York AP can actually lolpen it. Whereas the Scharnhorst is a ship that is very dangerous. It can pick apart the York, and so, if these guys play poorly, this is a very important detail to think about. Anyways, we're getting around the island, so to be honest, we could just stop behind here reasonably safely, and we only have one fighter left because we did some very poor fighter play in the end. Trying to protect just simply being patient is the most powerful protection you can possibly have here. And now that we're out of fighters, we can't do anything about this either. Anyway, selecting the dive bombers. Now we're going into the Scharnhorst. This is the correct target to be attacking now, because we're never really going to be able to pick up a good drop on the Belfast without our torpedo bombers around. And, well, the enemy's torpedo bombers are coming for us. So, the Scharnhorst has now put the fire out. We can now go in with the two remaining strike planes, preferably sending the dive bomber in first, in the event the Scharnhorst isn't focusing anti-aircraft. This could be very useful. And also hope that our the enemy's torpedo bomber doesn't kill our fighter with rear gunners. That would be really, really bad. Anyways, since he didn't kill it with rear gunners, we should seriously unlock. Well, the fighter unlocks himself when they're out of ammo, anyways. But the enemy's Scharnhorst is probably going to go down, even though, well, he doesn't lie. Oh, what the fuck? Scharnhorst salvo plus dive bombers. We're clear of the torpedoes, so that's fine. Scharnhorst is going to go down. He's not going to get another salvo off. Hopefully the York doesn't steal him. He doesn't, so we managed to pick up our fourth kill. Now. Okay. 1 minute left. 2 enemy ships. We're out of planes. Okay. So, here's the thing. That York dies, we lose. The York lives, we win. Belfast dies, we're guaranteed to win. but he's so much HP, we're never going to get a kill him. Anyways, we can pretty much begin the post-game recap right now. The damage we have, 178,000, is certainly strong. And if you look at it, well, that's a very good damage for the Hiryuu. 41 planes is very good plane shot down for a Hiryuu. Now what we need to consider is how many of these planes were from our own anti-air. Unfortunately, you can't see post-battle result screens like that like you could. But how many of these were our own anti-air? How many of these were empty bombers that had already dropped their load that we could have potentially stopped? And how much of this damage was against enemy battleships that we didn't really need to attack? Also, how much spotting and utility did we actually do? Anyways, just a recap. 17 torpedo bomber hits, 26 dive bomber hits, 14 fires. We did get some pretty poor dive bomber RNG or from poor drops where we dropped, got 4 hits on the same shot, only 1 fire. We also had some good ones where we managed to get 2 fires against areas which I honestly would have expected, well, 50-50, 1 or 2 fires. Picked up 4 kills, unfortunately not in a position to get a 5th. Like I said, 41 planes shot down, although again I must question how many of them were actually loaded aircraft and how many of them were to our own anti-air, considering the fact that we were never killed in this game, only pressured. Taking a very quick poke at the team lists, quite naturally we're very high up on the list. 2,183 base experience, second guy underneath us 1,472, the rest of them we're not really going to give enough fucks about. Ranger picks up 17 of our planes, a lot of them were fighters, not too much of our strike planes, a plane here or there, not too important. But what really matters here is the detailed report. Now if you look at our damage, from what we can clearly see here, a lot of it's picked up off battleships. 22k on the last Charnos, mostly fires, we got some decent damage off the enemy Fusos. Managing to pick up the double strike on the Nicholas, although in my opinion we certainly could have done something about that earlier. And aircraft destroyed. 16 torpedo bombers. Well, the first one was empty. The second one was empty. So that was 6 planes and 5 planes. So that's basically about 10 planes that were completely empty after they dropped. A couple of them were to own anti-aircraft later on as well. And then there was a drop on the Colorado, which was also empty. The drop on the friendly fleet down in the south, which we never managed to catch. The dive bombers don't really matter too much. Some of them went to own anti-air. And the fighters here, 15 fighters shot down. Well, he still had fighters in the end, and we didn't. We could easily have taken down all of his fighters if we'd been a lot more careful in the final fighter engagement, where we had not basically strafed on top of own stuff, and basically tried to fight him in an inferior position where he is supported by friendly anti-aircraft, and we're in a position where we're not paying too much attention to them. Anyways, having a look at our damage types, 4,000 damage off flooding. Not very much. Flooding damage is the most powerful type of damage you can get against a battleship, because it lasts a long time, it impairs the maneuverability, and well, like I said, it lasts a long time, it does a lot of damage, so you're sitting there getting a lot of flooding damage. Fires is very useful. However, they're also the most useful ones that get people to panic and trick their damage control party, especially at this tier where people tend to not be the best of players. So if you go in with a double stack of dive bombers, drop them, get 2 fires. If you're lucky, if you're unlucky, you get 1. If you're very lucky, you get 3. Thing is, though, you drop at center line, you can take out some of his anti-aircraft, which reduces, even if only slightly, the probability of losing another plane, especially your torpedo bombers, which we've definitely felt at the end were lacking because, well, they all died. And, well, yeah, there you go. Having the flooding damage over time, also, because it lasts so much longer, it ticks for much longer, and it keeps a battleship out of the fight for longer. Now, the most important thing is if that battleship is using premium consumables, there is a chance his damage control party, if you attack him a little bit too late, will come up with like 5-10 seconds left on the flooding. So if he damage control parties the flooding, even when there's only 5 or 10 seconds left on it, you could potentially get another dot stack on him if you had dive bombers that had just, for example, just come back up. You're close to the fight, which you were. Your carrier movement was pretty solid, actually. You kept moving all the time, pretty much all of it. Although I would certainly question how far up on the enemy side of the map you decided to move, especially considering the fact that your team was very split all over the place, and never really in a position to suppress them, and you had 2 destroyers on your side of the map as well. It's quite lucky that the Nicholas never actually found us, because that could have been a bit of a nuisance to have to deal with, especially if you're on the enemy side of the map, suddenly spotted by a destroyer. So now you have to shoot the destroyer. Well, shoot the destroyer. You have to kill the destroyer while getting shat on by the entire enemy team because, oh my god, the carrier! I must shoot the carrier! And people, believe me, people do that. People see a carrier, they want to shoot it. You can have a Yamato with a Shimakaze in its face about to torpedo it and a carrier 26 kilometers away. Well, I bet you half of them would still shoot the carrier. If they have a situational awareness. Well, if they were pointing in that direction, they'd probably go, oh my god, enemy carrier, must shoot! Fuck destroyer! So yeah. Now, you won this game, albeit it was a very close one. How could you have played this better? And what about your playstyle? Which was basically the original question asked. While farming damage in a carrier does work, you need to keep in mind, at least in this situation, you were playing solo. While if you're playing in a division, your division expects you to, well, if you're on voice comms at least, or if I play in a division and I play with a carrier in my division, I would most certainly expect the level of support from my carrier. Either spotting destroyers, attacking battleships that I need, and equally I could support my carrier by providing, for example, anti-aircraft support, killing fighters, stuff like this. But anyways, the first thing, and the absolutely most important thing I want to pick apart is, do not lock fighters until you know where the enemy strike planes are, and until you know which loadout the enemy is. Well, certainly you can. I'm not saying this is a fixed rule, but it is a very useful thing to have in mind, especially at this tier, because at this tier, you still do not have defensive AA on your CVs, so the probability of someone coming along and just goes, well, fuck this, I don't want to fight the carrier, I just fucking go kill carrier, no fucking problem. It happens. Like you saw. The ranger took, 5 minutes to get on top of you, and, well, I knew he was going to come for the snipe about 1 minute into the game, because we never saw his strike planes. We only saw one fighter. So I would have been getting suspicious and start looking for those strike planes with the dive bombers, because they're usually not going to be doing too much in the beginning. If people are AA soup blobbing, it's only really going to be your torpedo bombers dropping enemy destroyers, and your dive bombers, well, you're going to lose them if you fly them into an AA soup, because Hiryuu planes have fuck all health. So, with the first fight for engagement, yes, we killed 6 for the cost of 4. Yes, it's a better trade. No, it's not a good trade. Because we didn't need to take the engagement. To be completely honest, we didn't even need to drop the Molotov, but, well, being aggressive like that can work, but if the Molotov had a defensive AA, that could have just screwed us. We would have lost the torpedo bombers and lost the fighters on top of it. Well, lost the fighters that we lost. So yeah, strafing friendly planes, avoid doing it. Well, at least if you're going to strafe a friendly plane, make sure you strafe them far enough away that the strafing gets its full complete damage potential done, and not just this half a second or 1 second worth DPS off. And like we saw, the strafing ammo is the ammo penalty or the cost is the same. However, by strafing so close, you're never going to kill all of them off, and then you have to use more ammunition on top of that, and you're fighting against a US squadron which has better ammunition over you. He has the ammunition advantage over you. But the most important thing is the fact that while your fighters are furballing his fighters, your fighters are also using up their much more limited ammunition, and therefore can't stop his strike. While, yes, your strike is more likely to do more damage than his strike, even if he doesn't go for you at the start like that, then you trade, for example, battleship strikes in the very beginning, probabilities are you're going to do more damage, but you can't sustain it for as well as he can, and you're more likely to get shafted by defensive AA, unlike him. Now, 1-on-1 Ranger in itself isn't this strong, but this is more for you to keep in mind, especially in the later game, where at tier 7, basically both the standard carriers have 72-ish total aircraft capacity, whereas at tier 10, the Hiryuu, 136 midway. Just for everybody, a little bit of food for thought. 212 midway, also known as stock midway or balanced midway, has more total fighters than the Hiryuu has in fighter setup. That's 422. So yeah, just keeping this one in mind. It's, while at tier 7, workable as a strategy to play like this. The higher up you go and the better carrier plays you fight, the more it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. Second thing, strike over fighters. Carriers is a mini game, and anyone who watches my stream or has seen more my other carrier content knows that I often go by 3 basic rules of carriers: fighter plus 1, value of strike, and value of fighters. The more damage that you get in, the less enemies fighter squadrons have been worth. Obviously, the same occurs in the opposite. The more strike the enemy gets in, the less value your fighters have been. Obviously, this is pretty self-explanatory. But just simply saying, well, I have 8 fighters, you have 6, no more replacements, I have 2 more fighters than you, I have the advantage, doesn't really matter if the enemy's still getting the damage in. Especially if the enemy's getting the kills in. Now, while we did pick up the 4 kills in this game, a lot of the damage we farmed off it was simply farmed from battleships. And a lot of those enemy battleships weren't exactly in a useful position, and we lost a lot of our torpedo bombers for it, which put us in a late game situation where we weren't able to get damage over time stacks properly, and we didn't even do them, in attempting instead to drop on the Belfast. I guess we were in a little bit of a panic situation there because, well, both those torpedo bomber drops were just never going to hit anything at all. However, instead of panicking there, trying to see, can he chase our ship down? Yes. Is he likely to chase our ship down? Yes. But what do I need to do the most? Okay, kill the Scharnhorst. Or, the second line of thought, okay, he's chasing me. I don't want to get chased. So what do? Okay, if I attack like this, my torpedo bomber's strike will be the last strike. But I still have a lot of dive bombers. So I can go in, dive bomb the guy, and hope he damage controls the fire. If he damage controls the fire, we go in and try to get the torpedo bombers on him, making sure we slow down and do a cross drop on the Belfast, because the Belfast does turn very well. And also, drop as if you're targeting a Russian destroyer, because these fucking things, well, you go 33 knots forwards, you start turning, you bleed to 30 knots, and then you accelerate back to 33 knots because of fuck you physics. So you need to keep in mind their exceptional ability to drift and turn when you drop them, and really take this into account when you try to drop them. It's almost like dropping a Russian destroyer in a turn or US destroyer fish tailing. It's really, really painful. The only difference, of course, being the thing's a lot bigger than them. So, but yeah, that recaps. That concludes this replay analysis recap. I hope that you can come along and provide some insights on your thought processes that were going through this match, why you wanted to attack the targets you wanted to, and for future, I guess you could say reference, just future food for thought. Keep in mind your late game play as much as you keep your early game play, and also try to play more on the map itself so you can see what's going on. And maybe take a more proactive stance in preventing enemy carrier drops, or at least panicking and killing his planes off before they drop, because an empty plane is only going to affect the enemy carrier if he actually runs out of planes in the end. And this enemy carrier didn't. He was low, but never out. However, on the other hand, we were. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one.